Hello, my name is Channing, and today I'm going to discuss an article entitled Leonard Bernstein's Jewish Boston, Cross-Disciplinary Research in the Classroom. This article was primarily co-authored by two Harvard professors, Carol Oja, a historical musicologist and a leading expert on Leonard Bernstein, and Kay Kaufman Chalamet, an esteemed ethnomusicologist and professor of African and African American Studies. The essay was published in the Journal of the Society of American Music in 2009 and is based on a class that took place in 2006. On page 5, Oja and Chalamet clearly articulate their thesis. Quote, "The main goals include discussing the rich pedagogical reward of engaging students in team research about local history, outlining our methodology as a possible template for other such projects, and highlighting ways in which this venture contributed new or nuanced understandings of Bernstein." End quote. These three goals fit together like a ladder, where one rail would represent the article's focus on providing a new understanding of Bernstein, and the other rail would highlight the importance and benefits of student learning and community-based research. The rungs of this ladder are the steps taken by Oja and Chalamet to make this project possible, and they create a step-by-step template of how future scholars can approach cross-disciplinary research in the classroom. Once they build this ladder, Oja and Chalamet and their students use it to seize the opportunity to reciprocate their newfound revelations back to the community that bore them. First, we will discuss the two rails of our ladder before moving on to the rungs, and finally, we'll take a moment to reflect on this work. Let's discuss the pedagogical rewards of engaging students in team research. Oja and Chalamet highlight several ways this project was able to help their students. It provided them a more thorough understanding of the content by approaching research from multiple perspectives. Students were coached in interview techniques and research methods in a hands-on setting and were allowed to partake in in-class interviews and in trips together to gather information at the various Boston sites. These trips and interviews also allowed students a first-hand experience of Bernstein's lived experiences. They saw what he saw, and this lived experience is an important aspect of ethnomusicology research not often available in a standard music class. Students were encouraged to choose their focuses and research teams based on their interests. And finally, students were able to learn from one another in both these teams and through online class blogs and discussions. Throughout this process, students were encouraged to focus more on gathering material than on their final projects. The end product of the class included several papers by graduate students, a student-curated exhibit, and performances of little-known Bernstein works at a festival at Harvard in 2006. As well as contributions to the festival's 64-page program. Oja and Chalamet's essay contained two appendices, each one a project by a participant in the class. Appendix 1 is a timeline of Bernstein's Boston by Emily Abrams-Ansari, and Appendix 2 is an essay on the doodles found in the margins of Leonard Bernstein's notebooks. Let us use Appendix 1 to explore the second rail, the new content. A copy of the course syllabus contains a timeline of Bernstein's Boston, compiled by Oja and Chalamet based on the book Leonard Bernstein by Humphrey Burton and Leonard Bernstein, a complete catalog of his works by Jack Gottlieb. In comparison, the timeline by Oja and Chalamet and that by Ansari use the same format, highlighting Boston events in a framework of other major events. However, some additions have been made by Ansari. The first edition happens in 1932. Bernstein has his first public piano performance. The next in 1934. Bernstein produces and stars in Carmen, in drag, in a performance while at the summer home in Sharon. In 1935, Ansari adds that Bernstein composed his class song, One for All and All for One. Another title, another little-known composition, Ansari writes that in 1941, Bernstein wrote the incidental music for a Harvard Student Union production of Aristophanes' piece. However, more detailed analysis of Ansari's timeline shows that many of her additions can be found easily in Burton's book. The first piano performance is on page 17, Carmen is on page 21, etc. The most useful addition of Ansari is that Bernstein worked hard to publish the works of Braslavsky in 1963. In addition to the complete projects housed in this essay, the section entitled Revelations from Student Projects lists some new materials created by the students. Students uncovered a link between Bernstein's family synagogue and his work at Brandeis. They also shed light on Braslavsky's time in Vienna. Others constructed a tree of Bernstein's 6 piano teachers, tracing 2 all the way back to Beethoven. Osha and Chalamet also attribute the discovery of more changes of schools in Bernstein's elementary years to a group of students' research. In addition, Osha and Chalamet discuss important insights gained collectively from interviews with Bernstein's childhood friends and family. An interview with Sid Rahman, who became friends with Bernstein when they were 12, shows that Bernstein had a strong desire to teach even at an early age. Interviews with Bernstein's brother Burton and Leonard Bernstein's friend Harold Shapiro highlight tensions long withstanding between Bernstein and his father. This is further put into context by later testimony from a family member who chooses to remain anonymous. Osha and Chalamet continue to place Bernstein into broader context, which is that of typical experiences of a young Jewish immigrant family in the early 20th century. They discuss his family's desire for upward social movement, as well as their frequent relocation and shared experiences with other Jewish families in Boston. Finally, the glue between the content and the student experience is the methods, or the rungs of our ladder. Osha and Chalamet first had to take several steps to ready the class. They established contacts and visited sites and archives, building a web of connections as they went along. They also advertised the project to tap into more local resources. Once readied, they considered 2 levels of class: in class and out of class. Inside the class, they provide training on interview technique and research method, then recorded and coached the following in-class interviews. They also led the class on tours of the historical sites. Outside of class, they laid the groundwork for students to blog about their discoveries and to host discussions online. They guided students into research teams based on their interests. And finally, they guided a culminating class project that gave back to Bernstein's Boston community. In addition to the contributions at the Harvard Festival, students gave 2 presentations, one at the Mishkan Tefillah and another at the Sharon Strawberry Festival. Perhaps the most important question we've asked in class is what makes good biography? Osha and Chalamet have answered this question within their essay. Together, they use their different scholarly backgrounds and methods and emphasize cooperation and multifaceted research as the key to fully fleshing out a biography. Their work is cross-disciplinary in many ways. They include combining historical musicology, which focuses on individual composers, emphasizes books, and independent research, with ethnomusicology and its focus on group work and work within the communities that they research. It is also cross-disciplinary in the way it brought together teams of students from various backgrounds, from music to math, and from graduate students to freshmen. Its broadest reaching interdisciplinary aspect, though, was its attempt to bridge community and the classroom. Leonard Bernstein was a poster child of a crossover musician. It's only fitting that he, with his role as a composer, conductor, educator, and academic, is the most worthy subject of such a cross-disciplinary endeavor. Thank you.